Now we've covered how we use p-values to make a decision about the null hypothesis and how that informs our conclusion. We talked a little bit about the p-value and it's a probability and what it means, but we want to talk briefly just about what exactly a p-value is other than from an interpretive perspective. So the p-value, again, is the probability that our sample results were due to chance. But how's it calculated? Different distributions are used in different cases. One that's used for a number of different tests is a normal distribution, specifically a standard normal distribution where the mean is 0 and the standard deviation is 1. In every case, what happens is we calculate a test statistic. In this case, this is approximately negative 1.5, but whatever that test statistic is calculated to be. And then if our alternative hypothesis is a less than statement, what we do is calculate the area under the distribution to the left of that test statistic. And this is referred to as a left tail test. So we're finding the probability that x is less than whatever that value is for the test statistic that gets calculated. We may also have a test statistic that occurs on the high end. So whatever value this is, say if that's approximately 1.5, doesn't really matter particularly what it is. And then if we had an alternative hypothesis that was a greater than statement, what we'd look at calculating would be the area under the curve to the right of that test statistic. And we refer to this as a right tail test. And then our other alternative hypothesis is a not equal to statement. In this case, we calculate a test statistic, whatever value that happens to be, and we also find its opposite value. We make two boundaries, and then we calculate the area under the curve to the left of the lower boundary and to the right of the upper boundary, and then we add those two areas together. And this is referred to as a two-tailed test, since we're looking at the probabilities on both the left and the right tail. Each of those pictures were drawn and sketched out using a normal distribution. And if we're testing means, we may be using a normal distribution or a t-distribution, which has a similar picture, just a slightly lower and wider distribution. If we're testing proportions, a normal distribution is being used to calculate that test statistic and to calculate those probabilities regarding the test statistic. And if we're testing medians, those probabilities are calculated using a binomial distribution. Specifically a test that's referred to as the sign test, but there are others. The sign test is the one that we'll look at for this course. And then there are other tests that exist as well, but the scope of our course is limited, and so there's only a few that we'll be considering as we keep going.